I'm a lifelong Southerner, married to an Indian man who grew up in South Africa during apartheid, and I am fiercely proud of both. If you don't like that, well, bless your heart. I'm Sheryl Parbhoo, and this is Southern Life, Indian Wife. Can you imagine going to your dream college 7,000 miles from home? That plane ride is undoubtedly going to land you in a different country and probably a little bit of culture shock. My guest today is New York University sophomore Amin Ali, and he did just that. I met Amin last year on dorm move-in day. He had the privilege, or maybe the bad luck, to bunk right next to my son. Through my son's stories of his new college friends, I followed Amin's freshman year story, and I was fascinated by his journey. And as a mama, I wanted to know more about him. The first thing I learned about him from my son was that he turned him on to cheap halal street food in Manhattan. I mean, what bonds 19-year-old boys more than food, right? Amin's from Lahore, Pakistan, and instead of going into law like his father and two of his older siblings, he's a 3D artist and studies programming and economics at NYU. Even at the young age of 19, he's no stranger to travel and meeting people of other cultures. He attended an international school in Islamabad, and when his father served as Pakistan's Attorney General, he had the opportunity to travel with him to Russia, among other places, with him. So Amin's a lucky guy. Oh, and did I tell you he loves food? He and I talked about what food means in his life, and it's more than just what fills his belly. Food anchors Amin to his culture, to his family. The youngest of four, he grew up around people passionate about food. His father is an avid cook, and his big sister Fatima, who passed away from cancer early this year, was an internationally renowned chef and used to make special foods for him on her visits home. He and I talk about connections between Pakistani food and family, exploring and sharing his cultural identity with his friends in New York, following his sister's footsteps of walking an exciting path in his life that's right for him. His descriptions of the spicy foods back home made me hungry, and maybe even a little willing to try some foods I never thought that I would. And now, here's Amin Ali. Amin, thank you so much for joining me on a Saturday. I appreciate it very much.
No, not at all. I'm sure you can hear my morning voice.
Yeah, well, it's noon, so I guess for a college student, it's morning, right?
Little bit, yeah.
Well, I know that we tried to get together to talk for a long time, but you spent the summer in Pakistan. So how was that? Did you have a good summer?
It was a good summer. It was a lot of fun. I interned for 2 months at this company similar to BuzzFeed called Mango Buzz.
Uh-huh.
That was very good. I went to Karachi, Islamabad, just met some friends. That was great. Spent a lot of time with family. It was just a good summer.
That's wonderful. So now that you're back in New York, is it a little bit of a culture change, culture shock to be away from family and home?
No, I've always loved New York.
Uh-huh.
Pretty used to it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, so, that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, because when we met at move-in day in the dorms last year, I just thought this kid's really interesting because he's from Pakistan. He, doesn't have his parents with him. And, I didn't know anything about you, how much time you had spent in New York or in the U.S. And I just love getting to know people. So I wanted to ask you sort of do you live sort of a double life? Separate your family, your family time, your Pakistani life with American life. And I wanted to also get to know, what connects you to both sides of your world and, food. You mentioned that you absolutely love to eat food, which, I love that. Most guys your age do. What connection does food have with your culture, and how do you share it with your friends, and how does it all mix up together?
I mean, I think the biggest thing about food, especially in my family, I was even telling my roommate last night, is that we just love really, really spicy food.
Aha. Okay.
From a young age, my mom's side of the family eats notoriously spicy food.
Okay.
Whenever I have friends over, they're always like sweating. It's too spicy. It's always like fun to see that, I guess, but it's also really delicious for all of us.
Yeah, yeah. So is Pakistani food similar to Indian food? I've never had it. I know the spiciness is common.
Yeah, in many ways, like there's a lot of like overlap. I think there's a bunch of differences at the same time. I'm not the best source on.
Yeah.
I was just asking my mom a recipe how to make like this thing called bunande, which is like a take on scrambled eggs, except my family just puts all this like red chili in there with some
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know. There's just a lot of spices in that, and I was craving it last night, so I asked her for the recipe.
That's nice. It's nice that you can call her up and get that from her.
Yeah.
When I married my husband, the breakfast thing was the biggest shocker for me because I'm sure Adam told you we're from the South and, everything is so bland here. And when his mom first made a spicy breakfast, I almost died. We're so not used to that here.
Breakfasts are, you need a nap after those breakfasts. But yeah, to answer your question, I think there's a lot of differences and similarities at the same time. I think Karachi has more similar food, but again, not the best source.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Now, how old are you? Are you 19, 20?
I'm 19.
You're 19. Okay. So you've been around a lot, but you still have a lot of places to go and lots of different things to try. You have a long time ahead of you.
Yeah, and I have to definitely start learning how to cook better food.
Well, do you have a kitchen now in your place?
I do.
Good, good. So you don't have to eat at the NYU dining hall anymore.
I actually miss it sometimes. It's just so convenient.
Yeah, you'll have to learn how to feed yourself. That's tough.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what it was like for you growing up in Pakistan. So how many siblings do you have?
So I had 3 other siblings.
Okay.
So it's oldest was Muhammad. He's 34. He's gonna start studying law very soon.
Oh, good for him.
My sister was Fatima. She was 29,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a chef. She was amazing. And then there's Zara, who's 22, who's also studying law.
Okay.
And I don't tell her this often, but she cooks pretty good food too.
Yeah, but you don't want to give her a big head about it?
No.
That's funny.
Younger brother, I can't do that.
No, of course not. And you're the baby of the family. So are you totally spoiled?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So when you were growing up, you had a lot of siblings around. I guess food was a huge thing. No?
It was mostly just me and Zara.
Okay.
Muhammad had gone to college when I was like 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Fatima was gone when I was 7.
Oh, yeah.
So they would just come every winter. They would stay upstairs, and we'd all just have like a really good time.
That's awesome.
Look forward to winter.
Mm-hmm.
One of them or both of them would come, and it would just be amazing. Fatima would come, cook all this delicious food. Mo would bring all these presents, like these little Nerf guns and all that.
Yeah, that's great. So like big fun family time. So you didn't have to worry about those two being the mean older brother and sister.
Absolutely.
Because they weren't there. Oh.
They're just, my brother is 15 years older and Fatima was 11 years older than me.
Uh-huh.
So I think like the mean bully older brother thing was, I don't know. I think that happens when like there's a smaller age gap.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure Adam told you about him and his twin brother, how they got along and they did not get along. I'm always curious about this because I grew up in the US when McDonald's was on the rise and we had frozen dinners and that was just sort of our culture. My mom was not a big cook, but did your mom cook? Was it like a huge family deal for you?
My mom does not know how to cook anything. She can make that one recipe.
That's awesome. I love her already because I hate to cook.
My dad cooks all the time. He makes Chinese food. He makes Thai food. He makes Pakistani food.
Wow.
And he's pretty good. That's his way to like wind down after work, I think.
Wow. I'm impressed that that's a way to wind down because for me, that's kind of a stress. That's just not my thing. So I love that. I wish my husband knew how to cook. You're very lucky. Yeah. So, like at the holidays when you were there, well, first of all, I have to just establish you are Muslim, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, what are your big holidays that revolve around food? Because I know here we have Christmas and turkey and Thanksgiving and all the American stuff. So, what kinds of things did you guys have there?
So I guess the biggest ones would be Eid, both the Eids. So there's Eid al-Fitr and there's Eid al-Adha. I've grown up, one of the Eids, there'd just be, all the kids would get money
Uh-huh.
from all the older people. We'd call it Eid.
Uh-huh.
So that would be exciting. And then we would host lunches every year. So we'd cook a lot of food on like the first day of Eid. There's 3 days of Eid, kind of. So
Uh-huh.
the first day, we'd get up in the morning, we'd go read our prayers like in a big space with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then right next to where we'd pray would be my grandmother's house. And then my entire family would get together over there. We'd have a big breakfast. There'd probably be like 20, 25 different things on the table.
Oh my goodness.
And we just demolish all of it.
I bet you
Like
did.
20, 25 different people.
Uh-huh.
And then around 2, 3 o'clock, everyone would start rolling in for lunch. There'd be lots of food there. And then on the second day of Eid, there'd be a dinner at my cousin's house. So everyone would go there. So that's one of the Eids. Second Eid is where you sacrifice either a camel, cow, goat. It's a holiday where you sacrifice an animal and then you eat it.
Okay. Is that something that like individual families will do?
So you can either like now there's services that do it for you. So you just give them money, they'll do it, they'll send you the meat, or they'll send the meat wherever you want. Like you can send it to charity or like to people or like a village.
Okay.
Or you can have it done in your house.
What did you guys do?
So my family would, like my immediate family, we would do it at my uncle's place.
Okay.
But whenever we'd be doing it, it would be after morning prayers during breakfast, like right before breakfast on the big table. We'd step outside. I always hated watching it. I still can't watch it.
Yeah, that would be hard.
I've had to do it once with my cousin. Yeah, that was kind of scary. I don't like it, but some just love. This is like what they wait for.
Wow.
So it really depends. Once that meat's all like cleaned up, processed, whatever, then it goes in the kitchen, gets cooked, and like it's for the lunches or the dinners. And everyone comes to eat.
That's really cool that it's such a traditional get together for family. Everybody does it together, enjoys it together. I love that because we don't really have that so much here. Our families are not really sort of, bonded as much.
I guess it would be similar to Thanksgiving in the sense that there's a big turkey. Everyone gets together to eat it. They talk,
Yeah.
In that sense, maybe.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, I think every people around the world have to at least have one big thing that they spend their time together with family.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Except we get our turkey frozen from the grocery store. I don't know if I could ever slaughter something.
Oh yeah. It can be intimidating. I'm definitely intimidated by it.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. It's part of
it's
how you grew up.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I know my husband grew up in South Africa in a community it was predominantly South Asians, and there were Muslims that were his neighbors. And he said that they would slaughter their animal in the yard. And he thought it was pretty cool. But their perspective is these are all a bunch of vegetarian Indians. So I can't imagine what it's like, for them to see that, because we cook meat in my house, and that was hard for them to get used to, and they never saw it get killed. So, but it's interesting how people can observe other people's traditions and, hey, it's okay. It's what you do. We all get along,
Absolutely.
So your sister Fatima was gone when you were young. Your older brother was gone. Fatima was a chef. So did she learn her love of cooking from I guess not your mom because she didn't cook, but how did she learn the love of cooking?
I think she picked a lot of it up from my dad. And then
Okay.
I think she's just been cooking since she was like a 6-year-old or like a
Wow.
7-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's always been doing it.
Did she cook for you? What, were you the little
Yeah.
brother that she doted on?
Whenever she would come, I'd like bother her and like what I thought was really late at night, probably like 10, 11 p.m. I would be like, make me some pasta. And she'd make like the same pasta every time. It'd be delicious.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I remember a couple years ago in Islamabad, she made this fish. I don't remember which one. I was too busy eating. And everyone got one piece and I had two because it was just way too good.
Uh-huh.
Whatever she was there and something festive was happening, she'd cook and everyone would love it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such a blessing. And I haven't said it, yes, but I have to give you my condolences for her passing. I know she passed in January, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very sorry about that. And I know I don't want you to feel uncomfortable or if it's hard for you to talk about. So you just let me know.
I will. Thank you.
So you went to high school in Islamabad to an international school?
Yeah. So in Lahore, I was in Lahore American School. I think the school was 500 people.
Oh, wow.
Class was probably around 40, 45. And then in Islamabad, it's a school of, I think, 250 people. And then each class had like, I think we had a big class. We had like 17, 18 people.
Were you in the school with international students or was it
I was.
mostly? Okay.
There were people from all over Canada, a lot of people from like different countries in Europe. There was some students from China. It was predominantly brown people, though, Pakistani people.
Uh-huh.
In my 10th grade, my sophomore year, there were 3-4 Indians in my class.
Okay.
But like, obviously, because of the Pakistan-India tensions, they had to go back the next year.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what that was like.
It was just like people leaving from your school, but like you knew the reasons why. Like there was some raw agent sons in our school, stuff like that. So I don't know. It was just a lot of politics. They were like, I'm still in touch with them. They're good people. They're good friends.
You grew up kind of getting to know people just for who the person is and not because they're Hindu, Indian, European.
No.
And your dad is a pretty high profile attorney there in the country. So did that help you to be exposed to more different people than maybe you would have if he...
I've traveled with him when he was in the government. So I met a lot of, like when I went to Russia with him, that was very cool. I don't know the other word for it. Lots of really cool people, really, really educated people. His translator had a PhD.
Wow.
It was just, it was very cool. But in Pakistan, like not so much, only when I traveled with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you really had a good opportunity to be exposed to the world before you even set foot in New York for college.
Right.
You know, we sent Adam up there to New York and we live in a very suburban, 99% white community. It's actually pretty rural. So Adam's dad is probably the brownest guy in the area. And then Adam was, you know, half brown. And when he moved up to New York, he said he felt like the whitest guy around, which was interesting to me because there's so many different diverse people in New York. And it was a great thing in my mind for him to be exposed to that, to broaden horizons. So for you, I guess it was just sort of the same old thing. You're just used to being immersed in lots of different kinds of people.
But New York is like a whole different level though.
Yeah. So what made you decide to attend NYU? Because you probably could have gone to many, many other places.
It was the best school I got into. It's been my dream school for a couple of years. My cousins went here and I just like grew up hearing about them going to NYU and like how great it is. They're in New York, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. NYU is pretty darn great.
Yeah. And I'm really lucky to be here. It's just where I've always pictured myself being.
Okay.
I applied to probably 6 schools in New York City. Because this is where I wanted to be.
Well, congratulations for achieving that goal. That's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Do you plan on staying in New York? Or are you going to go back to Pakistan when you graduate?
I think I'd like to work in California somewhere.
And what is your major? Your econ
So
major?
my second major is in economics. I
Okay.
got in for this thing called interactive media arts in the Tisch School of Arts.
Mm-hmm.
So that focuses around like VR, AR, a lot of programming. I'm mostly on the programming stuff, but you're required to take like a couple of design courses, a couple like video courses, things like that. I think I'm trying to prepare myself to like enter the startup space as soon as I'm out, or like even like junior, senior year.
Wow, fantastic. So you have a father who's an attorney and then two siblings that are going to be attorneys. So what did your parents say when you and Fatima decided not to go in that direction? Is it cool with them, or would they prefer, sort of the same
So
route as them?
the way Fatma got around is she said that I'm doing this and I'm going to be the best doing it, like the best person at it. And that's
Uh-huh.
why you have to let me do it. Right. She promised them that, she delivered, and they were really happy. And I don't think I would be sitting here speaking to you if it wasn't for her doing that, her bravery.
Gosh, that's making me tear up.
Uh, my main argument was Fatma's doing it. Why can't I?
Yeah,
Like,
and
I
how can your parents say no to
I
that?
think my dad wanted me to go to law school. I went in as an animation major. That's what I'd been doing for 2 years. So I applied to a bunch of art schools. NYU and Northeastern in Boston were like the two schools that weren't art schools,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of the UC schools where I applied for like computer science. But my parents are pretty easygoing with this kind of stuff. They're pretty liberal. They're open-minded about studying things which you want to study.
That's lucky.
Yeah. By the end of like the entire college process, when I got all like the decisions back, my dad was like, all right, this is like your decision. You have to study. This is your life. You have to study
Uh-huh.
what you love doing. It's going to be your day in, day out routine.
Right. Well, you've got great parents that give you that opportunity to have that freedom. So you're very blessed because of that. Yeah. So what was it like? You're leaving home to live in New York. Your parents, are they still in Pakistan most of the time, all of the time?
They live there, but my mom tends to travel a lot,
Uh-huh.
but they're mostly in Pakistan.
Okay. So was that hard for you being away from home and
They
things
were,
that you knew?
because of Fatma's situation, my parents were there my entire first semester.
Okay.
They were just living across the Hudson in Jersey City.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, that's
so
good.
I would see them like 4 times a week, 5 times a week at the hospital.
So it's good that you were able to be with them. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry about the circumstances.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
they were there. So like the first year wasn't too bad in terms of homesickness.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I mean, it's wonderful that you were able to be together
Yeah.
at that time for your
Yeah.
sister. But this year, you've got a fresh start. You're living in a new apartment. Things are different. How do you relate to the kids that you go to school with? So I'm assuming you're not there with just, regular run-of-the-mill American kids all the time, but your identity as a Pakistani, as a Muslim, is that something that ever comes up? Do you share with them? Do you learn about their cultures?
Yeah. Like one of my really good friends who is with Adam. It's just a bunch of us who were living together.
Uh-huh.
3 girls who were just down the hall last year: Alicia, Emily, and Sabrina. There was Abby. Like, there's just a bunch of us. We'd all like chill together in our room because we had a big room.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the big basis of my jokes was just, like things that we would say in Pakistan, and like the way we say them. Like a lot of my jokes come from my heritage, I guess.
Like, do you poke fun at it or
Yeah,
like it? Yeah. Okay. Do you know the comedian Russell Peters?
I do.
Okay. So I love him because he pokes fun at everybody. He pokes fun at, and it's great. It's like an equal opportunity offender.
Yeah.
And I love it because, we have a multicultural family. I just think it's amazing that you can get to know people by laughing at each other. And I have an Indian friend who doesn't like him because she's very offended by the things that he says. that she feels like he's making fun of her and her culture. But I don't know. It doesn't sound like you see things that way either.
No, but, are you familiar with Hassan Minaj?
Yes, I love him.
Yeah. So like he does the same thing, except he makes fun of brown people all the time. And I enjoy his sense of humor. Like the things Russell Peters and like Hassan Minaj make fun of. Like if you lived in like a brown family, you know exactly what they're talking.
Yes.
It's fun when they make those jokes. That's why I think it works.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, non-brown people benefit from hearing that because, if I hadn't married my Indian husband, I wouldn't know anything about South Asian people, anybody from outside of the Western world, because I'm just not exposed to it. So I think that hearing comedians like that gives other people a really good sense of who South Asians are, because some people will look at brown people and say, well, you're not like me, so I don't like you and I don't want to know you.
Yeah,
so
it also puts it in like a very relaxed light. Like you're watching this stand-up comedian make fun of their own culture. You don't feel bad about laughing with them.
Yeah, I think humor is the key to survival in this life. If you can't laugh at yourself and at other people, then it's dismal. So is there any particular food that you miss from home, or any special food that you've fallen in love with in New York that you can't live without?
Probably the biggest thing I'd miss from Pakistan is this thing called muggers. It's like goat brain. And
what?
Yeah, it's goat brain. You have it with naan. It's goat brain in like tomato-y sauce, except it's like kind of spicy. There's a lot of ginger in there.
What's the texture? I'm not opposed to eating different things. So
it's honestly like scrambled eggs.
Like scrambled eggs.
Slightly firmer.
Okay.
You need to try it. It's delicious.
Yeah, I could do that.
It sounds really, really gross. I know. But it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. I think I could do that. You'll have to have your parents invite me over for dinner and I'll try it.
My dad would make it for me every Sunday.
Very cool. So what have you fallen in love with in New York? Is there anything that you hadn't had before that you can get there now?
It's not something I haven't had before, but like your son can confirm this. I really, really am obsessed with the halal carts.
Oh, yes.
Chicken over rice or the lamb over rice.
Yeah, you turned him on to that too.
I
heard about was halal, halal, halal.
Yeah, it's cheap food. You get a lot of it. I think it's one of the reasons I moved to New York. I'm obsessed.
The street food?
Yeah.
Now, is there street food in?
Oh yeah.
In Lahore.
Huge. It's probably majority like how Pakistan eats.
Wow. So when I pass by a halal cart in New York, I see flies, and that kind of makes me squeamish. So I haven't tried it yet. Is that a concern?
For $6? Nope.
Spoken like a true college student.
Yeah. It's so much food for like a good amount of money. And it tastes so good. I'm probably going to get some later today.
That's funny. So, what are your future plans? You're going to graduate from NYU, and do you want to stay in California permanently, or do you think you would ever want to go back to Pakistan to live?
I think I'd want to make a little bit of money, figure out how stuff works over here, and try and apply that over there. The startup culture is just about to take off over there. And I think I'd like to give it a shot.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Well, good for you. Good for you. I've been absolutely amazed. I have followed things on social media and the outpouring of love that your sister was given by the world. I mean, how did that make you feel? Was that just absolutely wonderful to see that?
Yeah, it was really nice to see everyone reaching out, offering their support and love and prayers. I think for everyone, it was overall pretty positive to have all these people just expressing all their love and support to you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, are you closer to your siblings now? Or are you just kind of doing your thing in New York and living your life?
I think I'm definitely closer to my brothers. Zara and I, we lived in the same house for ever. Muhammad was off to college. He lived in Australia and they moved to LA last year. I've never lived with him, but now that he has like a little bit of free time and we spend like a summer together in Pakistan, I think him and I have grown in our closeness of relationship, I guess.
Good. Well, look, I really appreciate you taking out time on a Saturday morning to talk to me because I know you've probably got a million and one things that you'd rather be doing, hanging out with friends. So yeah, thank you so much for the conversation. And I really think that, people listening are going to love your story because people are interested in other people's experiences. And I think you have a lot of really good insight and experiences in just 19 years, which is pretty amazing to me. So I wish you the very best.
Thank you. It was really, really good speaking to you. I hope to hear from you soon through Adam.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. And maybe I'll see you the next time we come up there.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too.
Okay. Thanks. If you like this podcast so far, please continue following along by tapping the subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. If you really liked it, go on, be awesome, and leave a rating and a review. Find me on all social media too by searching Sheryl with an S, Parbhoo, that's Parbhoo. Thanks for listening to Southern Life, Indian Wife.
The semi-annual sale at Mattress Firm ends Tuesday. It's your last chance to save up to $400 on our top-rated mattresses. Like a Beautyrest Greenwood Queen mattress, now just $499. Explore our selections at mattressfirm.com and visit your nearest store to experience the bed of your dreams today. But don't wait, this sale ends Tuesday. Your budget stretches further at Mattress Firm. Restrictions apply. Valid at participating locations only. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/sale.